Hello everyone, I'm Rashmi Bhandary and I have my student Pranita with me. So Pranita is from the IS department and she's cleared Zenkin campus placement and she's got into a Japanese company. So congratulations Pranita.
Thank you so much, ma'am.
Yeah, so Pranita is going to talk about her interview experience so that anyone who's trying for any Japanese company, right, so it's easier for them. So we got it through Zenkin, so and she's got a great package over 22 point, around that much, 22.7 LPA, right? Yeah. So Pranita, what was the round?
Yeah, ma'am. First, they sent an application in which we had to fill all our basic details, our CGPA and all the academic details, and then we also had to tell about, they will ask some questions about why do you want to work in Japan, why this particular company, all of those details. So we had to fill all those details. So it's very important that we answer it very rightly. For the questions like why do you want to work in Japan, I particularly wrote about how I read the book Ikigai and how it had about the Japanese work culture, how they're polite, how they work out of passion. Ikigai itself means passion. So I wrote about all those things. And then it's also important to write about your projects. They'll ask you about your project and internship experience. It's very good if we have internship experience. I had 2 internship experiences. So one was in web engineer field and the other one was machine learning and AI. So I wrote about both of them.
So just to stop you, so when did you do these internships? I mean, was it online or did you?
Yes, I did it during COVID and that time I was in my second year. So I did my internship mainly during second year.
Online or did you physically go to the?
Online.
Online. So how long was this internship?
This one internship was around 3 months, the other one was around 4 months.
So you can manage with along with your college?
Yeah, you can manage.
Alright, okay.
Yeah, so all those details. And then they'll also ask you about your projects. I had 2 projects which I mainly write about. One is my academic project and the other one is outside. It was a machine learning and AI project. So I wrote about both of them. Then they will do shortlisting on the basis of the application answers that we have written.
Alright. So students, you have to be very careful because people think it's just an application. It's not an application. Every round is an elimination. Alright. So you'll have to really go through it and really fill it properly because you could get selected or rejected based on that.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
So after that we got the link through email for the first round. That was aptitude round, in which we had aptitude, quantitative aptitude, logical reasoning, normal like puzzle type questions, and the technical part had coding and DBMS. So in the quantitative,
so was it tough? I mean, the aptitude and the overall.
It was actually a range of easy, medium, and tough. They were very easy questions. Like for example, Mary's mother has 4 children. April, May, June, and Mary. Like in the tension, will mark the wrong answer. So some were very easy, but some were very difficult as well. The quantitative questions were more of like they had also had a logical touch in that. For example, person Ram, he gets 15 rupees today, spends 10 rupees tomorrow. In how many days will you have 60? So you shouldn't consider the last day.
Alright.
Another similar question was a monkey is climbing a well. So it climbs 2 meters, comes down 1 meter. How many days will it take to climb a 30-meter well?
Alright.
So something like that.
Okay.
Those questions. And there was another logical question, more of like, it was a diagram. Instead of, in Indian companies, they usually give numbers, wherein they give you like 1, 1.5. So you know, okay, there's 0.5 increment. So that way there was a diagram over here, starting from the left. So they drew triangles in progression. So we had to see, okay, this is 3.5. Next one is 5.5. So the answer was 7.5. Now if you think about it, it's actually
alright. Okay.
But the time constraint is a little bit.
Alright.
The technical part had coding. Coding questions are just like Indian companies. They'll usually ask questions about global and local variables, about pre-increment, post-increment. Like they'll give you a program. So I is equal to 0, then I plus I. What will it print? Like that. And global and local, like inside a function they will declare a variable, outside they will call it, or even globally they'll declare the same variable. What will be printed? So in local scope, local variable has preference. In global scope, you know, all those things. If we give the keyword global in the local scope, global variable is printed. So all those things, basic coding questions. We just think about it, we can answer.
Alright, great. And then after that, what happened? So this happened when? I mean, this happened in one day altogether or?
No ma'am, the application was previously, next they sent us a link some other day, and all the HR and technical round, it was all on one day.
Alright, okay. So then after your technical?
Yeah, after that they again shortlisted people. There were around 20 around that.
Okay.
15 to 20 people.
All from our college? All from Sahyadri?
No.
All right. Okay.
It was mainly from Bangalore.
All right. But you knew that these are there. How? Because you were all put
They did a Telegram group.
All right. Okay.
So they'll send a Telegram link. So we joined through that. And then they will guide us through the rest of the process. On the day of the interview, in the morning, around 7:30, the company will give presentation. They'll tell you about the company, what they expect from us, what are they looking for, and there'll be a Q&A session, like kind of like a ice-breaking session. And after that, the first round starts.
Okay. So did you ask any questions during the pre-placement talk? Or?
Yeah, ma'am. They suggest that we ask questions.
Yeah. No, it's always said. So you always remember, any pre-placement talk is branding for you. It's branding for the organization. That's what people think. But it's also branding for you. All right. And so always have a couple of questions ready to ask. Raise your hand, your digital hand, in case it's an online, and if they allow you a chance to speak, please make use of the opportunity and introduce yourself. Okay, like you say, I'm Pranita from IS Sahyadri or whatever, right? So that the name strikes and they remember which college. Otherwise, just asking a question just for the heck of it doesn't really. Okay.
Yes, ma'am. Actually, to be honest, even on the basis of the questions we asked,
yes,
during the interview they'll ask, okay, you had asked this question, what was the purpose behind the question, what was the thinking process? So it does have an impact.
Yeah.
So next was the technical interview, wherein it was around 25 to 30 minutes.
All right.
Basically for each one. And Japanese companies, they mainly concentrate on our projects.
All right.
They'll try to get to know why you have done the project. The why factor is very important. Like how does it contribute to the society? What was your thinking process before choosing the topic? Why that topic? And what is the societal aspect of that? And then they'll go on to the technical details. For example, I had given my DBMS project. That was the first project that I said about. I basically did a presentation because it's easier to present that way.
Okay.
I did a PPT and I showed them that way because it will save time, it will also be crisp and they'll understand it better.
Yes.
So I did that way, and then they started asking me questions regarding that. Like, how did you embed the SQL code in that? Where is the SQL part in this? Oh, you wrote it in PHP. So what are the different technologies did you use in that? All of those things.
All right. So this was told to you that you need to do like this, or this was something that you decided to do?
They suggested you can do a PPT and that will be easier to tell.
So you felt that was good actually?
It is actually good.
All right. So I think that's a good suggestion. Even if you can carry a laptop, I think most of the times they do allow, and have it ready just in case you can. Yeah.
Yeah, ma'am. It seems more organized if you do.
All right. And just again, was there an interpreter for the technical interview or?
No, ma'am. There was no interpreter in this particular company, but most companies do have an interpreter.
All right. So one more thing, whenever you're attending any interview, first of all, you have to go a little slow because people cannot understand, even if it's an Indian, and especially if it is someone not from this country, right? So even though it could be someone who's a native English speaker, it could be a European, it could be an American, or even an English person, but our accent would be a little different. So always go slow, all right? So because we have a tendency of going fast. So I think we really have to go slow so that they understand. All right.
Yeah. So if there's an interpreter, usually they'll prefer you to speak few lines and then wait for the interpretation to be done.
Yeah.
This particular company did not have interpreter.
All right. Okay.
Then they'll ask questions based on other technical stuff, like what are the other projects they have done. Another common question is, what is a non-academic project that you have done, like not in your academics, that kind of shows your interest, like what you have done outside.
Yeah.
So I had a project that I had done outside with other of my seniors.
Okay.
So I told about that project.
Okay.
That was a machine learning and AI project.
All right. So I think they would have been impressed. But the whole questions were hovering around your projects, is
yes,
it?
ma'am.
Most of it on your project. Okay. Yes.
And then they also try understanding your personality.
Yeah. And also the cultural fit, because why Japan? Because it's a different culture, right? So why do you actually want to go there?
Yeah, so then they ask some questions about why do you want to. That is a very common question.
Yeah, so why do you want to go to work in Japan?
Yeah, so my answer for that was I had read the book Ikigai and I got to know about the work culture and how they are as a community, and mainly the work culture, because they work out of their passion. They don't work just because they have to.
All right. So whatever you put in your application form, you could actually verbalize it.
I told about all those things.
All right.
And another common thing they ask is, what is the time that you faced failure and how did you overcome that?
Okay.
So I had confidence issues ever since I was in high school. I'm still working on that. So I told about all those things, like
Okay.
how I worked on that, how
Yeah.
I joined some Gavels club and
Oh,
other
so
stuff.
you told about Toastmasters. I think anywhere, if you are a part of Toastmasters and the student wing is the Gavels Club, it really helps because Toastmasters is an international organization, and the moment you say you're a part of Toastmasters, it just shows extra initiative, someone who's wanting to hone the communication skills, which are very important. And by the way, nowhere can we find out that you have confidence issues because, maybe we have it inside, but
Yeah.
but then, outside, actually people really are not able to make out, or maybe you've really worked on it.
Yeah. So I told about all those things.
Yeah, very nice. Uh-huh.
And the next round was around afternoon. They'll tell you if you're shortlisted again.
All right.
Again, they'll remove almost half the people.
All
So,
right.
After that,
It's not that they remove, they didn't get selected. See, because when a company comes, they don't want to eliminate, right? So,
Yeah.
I mean, if people are not good, then what do you do, right? Yes.
like half the people,
Huh.
we will go to the next round,
Huh.
and then they ask. This is like a pure HR.
All right.
So they start asking, tell me about yourself, and then what are your hobbies.
Okay.
It's better if we try to tell something that they want to hear, or something that matches. For example, if you are applying for a Japanese company, I personally don't watch anime, but if you do watch anime, it's better you tell all those things.
Yeah. But again, it's not really necessary in the hobby part because your hobby is something which is very personal to you. So maybe it works if you have a common hobby which is okay with the organization or the
Yeah.
culture, then it is great. But otherwise also, see, basically a hobby question is just to understand whether you really have a hobby or not, because most of the people are faking it. They say it's a hobby but they don't really spend time on it. So a hobby could be anything, okay, it could be just anything. But if I say gardening, then okay, do you have a garden? What do you grow? If I say I grow vegetables, then you can expect more questions just to understand how much of that are you really doing. Or if someone says music, then which music, what are you playing, right? So then I want to know in depth whether that's really your hobby. So actually it does not matter whether it is in sync with the organization or not, but what is really important, whether you're spending time. A hobby is something where you at least would be spending 2 to 3 hours a week minimum, okay? So otherwise, just for the sake of it, reading, but what books, one book somewhere, once in a blue moon, so that is not, right?
Yeah,
So
that
that's
is
it.
true.
Yes, yes.
I said about reading books because
Okay.
I really love reading books. Then they asked me to tell about some books that I read. I told about Ikigai. I also told about Alchemist. So they asked me to summarize what is there in the book. Apparently, I think they had read the same book.
Everyone reads The Alchemist. See, these are very common books. So even if reading is not your hobby, people will read The Alchemist. People will read Rich Dad Poor Dad. People will read 5 Point Someone. So people go and say that this is my hobby and which are the books that I've read. They'll just give a common
Yeah.
list. But that's not. That does not come on the hobby list. If a serious one, a person who's reading would read at least a book a week.
Yeah.
So if that is the case, then reading is a hobby. But every month, everyone is supposed to be reading something. So
Yeah.
the common books everyone reads. But
Yeah.
yes, you should at least be able to summarize who's the author, why did you like that book.
Yeah, so I said about all those things, why I
Yeah.
like those books. Especially, I told about Ikigai and Alchemist.
Yeah.
So I told about those books and why I liked them.
Okay.
So they kind of were like, they were happy, like,
All
usually
right.
people don't know how to summarize it even if
Yes.
they've read it. So
Yes.
it's good that you know to summarize. And then they asked the common questions. Why do you want to work in Japan? The
Okay.
same things. Because there were two different people who conducted the interview.
All
So
right.
they kind of asked the same questions again.
All right. So you were happy? I mean, did you feel good at the end of the interview? You were sort of sure that you're going to get in, or?
I had confidence, but
Yes.
I was not like 100% sure I'll
All
get
right.
in.
Okay. All right. And one more tip, whenever you're facing an interview, try to wear a Western formal, especially if it is a Japanese one, because, it's an international this thing. So don't go in a salwar or whatever. Like sometimes in colleges, people are not really bothered, right? So
Yeah.
a Western formal and with a blazer suit if possible. You were sharing before that you did carry your blazer,
Yeah.
but you didn't wear.
Yeah.
And why did you not wear?
Because I felt like everyone else wasn't wearing.
Yeah, but that's
That
not.
actually adds a additional point if we wear.
Yeah, because you're taking the effort. And were the panelists actually formally dressed?
Yes, ma'am. They were completely like
Yeah,
formal. They
yeah.
wore blazers and all of
Yeah,
that.
because Japanese, they're extremely conscious about dressing. Okay, so I mean, we don't think Japan as a whatever, but it's actually very, very they're very conservative in dressing. Extremely well dressed people. Okay, and they will notice all that. So you better dress formally for any interview, and more so for something like a Japanese interview.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Anything that you want to say? Any tips to anyone who's watching this and who wants to apply to Japan?
First thing is concentrate mainly on your projects because that's something we must concentrate a lot on. Two, internships, because it adds a lot of weight. When you see an application and there are internships that are worthwhile, they'll actually give you more preference. The other thing would be on coding and stuff. It's better we know we are good at coding, or at least we should have a technology that we're interested in. For example, for me personally, I like web development and machine learning and AI. So that wasn't in our syllabus till now, but I actually did a lot of courses in that. So there are a lot of online platforms through which we can do courses, like Coursera, Data Camp, those things. So we can actually.
So these are free, or do you have to pay for the certificate?
I am a part of an organization, so WKC. So I get it through that.
Okay, what is this WKC?
That's basically a scholarship for meritorious students, Konkani students.
Okay, all right.
So through that we had access to Data Camp. So I used to do a lot of courses through.
Oh, very nice. All right.
Those are another things that they ask, like were you a part of any group? Were you a leader?
Yeah.
How did you contribute?
Yes.
So I personally told about this organization that I was a part of.
Oh, very nice. Yeah, that's what they're looking at, right? Because basically, of course, other than your technical skills, which anyway you are going to speak about, but then they want to learn whether you are a team player, whether you have leadership skills, okay? If you have a foreign language, it's so nice. If you're a first year, just pick up any foreign language, it just shows going beyond. Right, so especially if they're planning to send anyone outside, they would definitely focus on someone who's done something like this, a foreign language, a part-time job, part-time job, especially in organizations that are sort of known to everyone. Let's say like McDonald's. Like people will think, oh, what does McDonald's got to do with engineering? But then you learn the whole supply chain, and you learn so many things. And when you say if you work in McDonald's or in Pizza Hut or in when you any of those sort of fast food chains which people can recognize with, they value you because here is someone who's doing something other than the ordinary, right? And then of course your internships that you have done. I think somehow you should pack in all this by the time you come to your third year, so that when you face the interview in the final year, it's very easy.
Yeah, ma'am. The language part, I personally love learning foreign languages, like in general languages. So I had started studying Spanish during my high school.
Oh, very nice.
Yeah, so all those things.
Did you put it somewhere across?
Yes.
Yeah, see, that really helps. Because see, someone who's already planning to learn, who's already done something in Spanish, for them I can understand, yes, Japanese also to learn. Nihongo, right?
Yes.
That's Nihongo, it's not Japanese. So, they are open to that. Otherwise, people are so closed, right? So here is someone already who's exploring all that. Yeah.
So it adds additional point. They'll ask you about it. They actually asked me about that as well.
Yeah.
They asked me about why did you start studying Spanish? Like, it adds additional point.
Yes. See, because everyone is an engineer, everyone has a project, everyone has got so and so marks. So what is that differentiates, right? So all these definitely help. Yeah. So very nice. Thank you so much for this. All right. And till we meet again, it's bye from both of us.
Thank you, ma'am.